Welcome to Devon Dragon Radio. I'm your host, M.L.Ruscsak. I'm here with fabulous author, Rana Bitar. Welcome. And I hope I didn't butcher that too badly.
Yeah, my first name is Rana.
See, I'm going to butcher something in every episode, I swear. But, okay, you're an author. So what led you into writing before we get into your book?
Yeah, I wrote when I was started writing when I was very young. I was 8 years old. So I don't think I got into writing. I think kind of writing got into me. It's my way of understanding the world around me. That's my interpretation of everything around me. I found myself being able to do that best with writing.
That is wonderful. So what is the title of your book and what is it about?
My book title is The Long Tale of Tears and Smiles, and it's about my patient stories, and intertwined with my patient stories are my stories, my journey into being an oncologist and growing up in Syria and coming to the United States.
Okay, so you have a lot of things going on there. One, you're a doctor, you're an oncologist, you just said. You're coming to the United States. Where are you coming from?
I came from Syria. I was born in Damascus, Syria. Damascus is the capital of Syria.
So, welcome to America.
Thank you.
I don't get to say that very often on the show, but then you have your journey to become a doctor. So what was that and why did you pick oncology?
Well, I was interested in being a doctor probably as long as I was interested in being a writer. So that was a long time ago. I decided to be a doctor. My dad had a book in the attic whose one of his friends had given it to him. It was a thesis about a common illness, how to take care of them at home. And I would go and read in that book. It had all this pop-up photos where you pull out the small intestine and find the abdominal cavity and what's behind it. So I was fascinated by like how the body works and how to fix it. So that my interest in being a doctor started a long time ago. Oncology attracted me because of the um, philosophical part of it, in addition to the physical challenge of it. It kind of satisfied my curiosity for science, at the same time, my curiosity of human nature and the major decisions we face in facing life and death, and the way you interact with the patient and you become close to the family. So that part attracted me most about being an oncologist. I wanted to capture both.
See, going through as family members have had cancers, from different parts of the body, it goes to, okay, where's your mindset? Where's the mindset of the patient? Where's the mindset of the family? Because 20 years ago, if you had cancer, it was pretty much there's no hope, versus now we have a lot of hope depending on where it is and where you catch it and when you catch it, what stage it is and where it's at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, things advancing in oncology in a very impressive way. Still, the bottom line is that you have serious illness, and that's very challenging, not only for patients but for their families and their caretakers. Um, Things change, and people are more open about talking about their not only their physical problems but also the emotional and social issues that comes with it. So yeah, we made the headways in caring for oncology, not only on a science level, but also on a
Human
social,
level.
correct, on a human level.
Because it's not just healing the body, you have to heal the mind while you're healing the body. You can give
Absolutely.
I'm on medicine all day long, but unless you're healing the mind, their mind's never going to heal to the effect that their body is.
Right, and not only healing the mind, also sharing the struggles that patients go through. It's a tremendous pressure on them, the decisions that they have to make with their families. I think one of the most important part of being an oncologist is to be able to guide them through these difficult times, and listen to what they go through and try to understand it, and take time, mostly taking time in understanding what that means to have oncology, to have cancer, and being at an oncologist office. It's not only coming in and doing the blood work and going for treatment, it's a whole aspect around it, which comes to be actually sometimes more important than the treatment itself, to be heard and understood, and understand what the family goes through the difficult time.
Exactly. It's not just one little thing that you can treat. You have to treat everything. And you kudos to you, because you have a big undertaking. Any doctor that deals in oncology has more than just one patient. It's not just the patient they're treating, but also the family dynamics around that patient.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And as I said, that can be more important than just providing care, meaning just prescribing the medications. It's just getting into what's their status at home, who takes care of them, what happens when they get sick, and all of that. It goes beyond just, delivering medicine to these patients. And again, that is the part that I love most about being an oncologist.
So you have this book out. Are you writing a second book to companion it?
No, not in the same subject of oncology. No, no, not now. Maybe later.
Maybe later. Okay, so it's no in the oncology, but is there a yes in something else that you're working on?
Yeah, just a preliminary working. I'm working on a kind of novella called "God Only Forgives the Mighty," and it's still in a very very early stages. But it has nothing to do with oncology. It's
Well,
more of
sometimes
magic realism.
it's best sometimes just to step back from your day job and write for getting your mind out there. It's just I need to write, relax. As an author, I know this very well. Just to write something, and it has nothing to do with anything else you work on.
That's true. Although it's always in the background, that what how you grow with
Mhm.
your patients always affect the way you think about other things, not related to oncology, but it also affects how you look at life and relationships and priorities. So it has this undercurrent of affecting everything you do.
It does. Everything we do as humans affects everything else we do around us. So it doesn't matter
Mhm.
if you're in the medical field and you're writing about something that may or may not be related to the medical field, it's still how you're interacting with the people around you.
Absolutely. That's true.
So you said it's in the early stages. So how long, we'll go back to the first book. How long did it take to
Mhm.
write the first book?
Oh, that took time because it came in stages. I didn't sit down and said I'm gonna write a book. I started writing my patient stories initially just for me to understand their lives and my role in it. And then I just wrote it on like loose sheets and loose papers. I didn't intend to publish or write a book. And then as I wrote more, I realized how these patients' courage had touched me and changed my life, and how the gravity of the decisions they made um, altered the way I made my decisions, and how I set my priority, and how being part of their agony shifted my focus. So I said, these stories, should not just stay in the exam rooms. It shouldn't just die within these four walls. I wanted to get them out there, and I wanted other people uh, to to get out of their cocoon of their individual focuses and start thinking, what if this happened to me? What would I do? How would I think? How would I change the way I look at things and the world around me and the people around me? How do I set my priority? Um, I wanted other people to be touched and kind of start getting a fresh perspective on their lives, just like I was touched by that. So it wasn't planned to write a book. It just came in stages, so it took some time. Um, so it took. I started writing when I was in training, and I want to say probably about 7 years or so, just in stages, just in stages.
That's a long time to write one book. But
Right.
time, you didn't have the mindset of I'm going to write it. I'm just writing it down on, eventually going to do something with it. I just don't know where to do something with it. So
Right. Well, I wrote it for me initially, the stories. I wanted to keep remembering my patients, the ones that that I was touched by their stories and changed me somehow. And I didn't think about publishing until later. I put them together and started thinking about publishing these books, these stories.
see, that's the thing. This is how book babies come to be. Sometimes it's a notebook filled with little things we jot down, and it takes years, decades even, to get it where we're okay. Might want to publish this now, or we have the mindset of an author that goes, I'm writing a book and I want it done in 30 days.
Right. Well, 30 days is optimistic.
Well, you write more non-fictional, so it probably wouldn't be the best interest of you to do nano, but for a fiction author in October, there's nano writing, October, November, and you write a book, or at least a good draft of a book, in 30 days.
Oh, yeah, that's good. I mean, I think I write poetry too. Poetry is easy to write fast because it's pretty condensed. I don't have a problem writing poetry, in a short period of time.
So are you writing poetry? Are you getting that published?
Yeah, I have a book of poetry published already. It's called The Loaf of Bread, and I have one coming out next year called Hold Your Breath.
Awesome.
And I'm working on a third one.
See, you're a serial author. This is why we go into this, because you're not just writing one thing, you're writing a bunch of things that we have to draw out to connect with you. So with all these books coming out, who's your publisher?
The Global Collective Publishers published The Long Tale of Tears. A Loaf of Bread was published by Unsolicited Press, and they're publishing my next book.
See,
the one that's coming out in March.
See, okay, this is something I want to touch base on. Not all authors have all their books under one publisher. We go to different publishers for different book babies.
Yeah. So what happened with the first book, I published A Loaf of Bread. I was published to Unsolicited Press, and then I wrote that Hold Your Breath, which was about the pandemic, about my experience with the pandemic with COVID, and then I said, you know what? Instead of just sending this book everywhere, like just to Asians and things, you just see it. Let me send it to Unsolicited Press. They know my writing, and I dealt with them, and I did it, and that was like one time, So you know how when you write a book and you want to publish, you have to contact agents and publishers and wait for them to come. So they were my first choice, and it just happened.
That is excellent. This is what we do, though. You have, okay, author mindset. You have your book, baby, your manuscript. What do you do with it after you have this manuscript and you have it all nice and pretty? Who do you send it to? This is a question that a lot of authors don't think about when they get done writing.
Yeah, which is actually the most difficult part. I mean, you finish writing and then you start figuring out who to send it to and why. You have to research, the publishers and what's their interest and the agents and what their interest, and pick what suits your subject, which
That
is
is,
the difficult part.
it is a difficult part for any, and then you have to go to the mindset is one yes out of 100 no's. You have to get to that all through the no's to get to that one yes. It's not a you're going to get picked up on your first publisher you submit to. It does happen, but not always.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, no, you get a lot of rejections, and you have to. I mean, you develop thick skin after after a while. You just have to keep doing it.
It's a passion. And because you're writing in different genres, you have your poetry. And the one about COVID, you're going to have a different perspective because you're a doctor than someone that doesn't work in the medical field.
Yeah.
So everything that you're doing is linked, but at the same time, you're sending out messages of hope and healing.
Yeah, I mean that I think that applies to everything you do. Writing, whatever you write, is an action of healing. That you either you heal yourself, or you start with yourself and you try to send a message to other people. It's writing itself is healing. Whether it's a nice story, happy story, or bad story, because you relate to what happened to the other people you're reading about, and just knowing that there are other people out there that might have the same issues you had, or face the same challenges, that itself is healing. Just the knowing that you're not alone, I think that's the healing.
It is. I hear that a lot, especially when I talk to someone that's overcome a medical issue. It's connecting with someone that had a similar medical issue and learning to heal from their strength, because you're not alone no more. The biggest thing is when you go through a medical condition is I'm completely alone and isolated.
Right. And as when I published the long tail, I was concerned that it might be kind of a sad book because it talks about cancer and dying. And to my surprise, the feedback I got was that actually it was a book of hope to a lot of people, to inspire them for perseverance and tolerance and different interpretation on what dying might mean. Although it was sad, but it was hopeful. So they're not separate. And that surprised me that the people felt that the book was uplifting, actually. And that's the healing.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's not just, okay, there's a sad book, someone's passing away. It's how do they look at their time on this earth? What are they reflecting on? What are they preparing for after they're no longer physically here?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I learned from my patients that losing control could be freeing. Like when you lose control over what you think is going to happen in your life, what should happen in your life, you redirect your focus on the moment, on the now, and that's freeing. I think when you when you lose that illusion of knowing the future or thinking you know the future, you focus on the now and you make that moment matter more. Um, not not in a like a casual way, like life is short, let's just go watch movies. It's making the moment precious, making it heavy with meaning, that when it drowns, it leaves ripples behind it. And I learned that from my patients, just not losing the control of what you can do to a certain extent. No one chooses cancer. You don't have control over it, and your life changed dramatically. Uh, that changed their focus to the now, to the moment, and that you might not expect it. It's upsetting. It's frustrating, but it actually has a little bit of pleasure in it. It has this freedom of just let's live today and know the moment now. We all live for tomorrow. We're sitting here today and thinking what's going to happen tomorrow, and you lose the feeling of the now, of who I am now.
It does. Having medical issues back in 2011 and not knowing if I was going to see 2012, it's a lot more freeing to, okay, I'm here today. What can I do today in case I'm not here tomorrow? But how can I make today the best day I've ever had?
Yeah. And I think also COVID kind of solidified that too, because there's no plan. You can't plan, and no plan for the future. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, so you just you go day by day, and again, it might seem upsetting and frustrating, but it's actually freeing. You're free from the terror of knowing the possible future. It's like, let's just live the moment, and then you find that you really actually forgot about that moment. You forgot how to look at it. You forgot to look inside, and that also I learned from my patients. Cancer patients go through that every day, and I think that's part of why the book ended up being hopeful and uplifting. It's freeing of the plan for 10 years or 20 years. It's just now, what matters now to me, to my family, to the people I love right now, that right this minute. It has to matter now.
Everything we do, doesn't matter what it is you do in life, you have to do it for now. You can't plan for tomorrow because tomorrow is not promised. If you take away that tomorrow is going to be here regardless if I will open my eyes or not, you free yourself from being to be happy just in the moment. It doesn't matter if you're in a dead end job, you're still happy because you're grateful for being here.
Yeah, I think you do both. You live the moment, and hope that the future, like you try to build up the future, but not let it terrorize you by just like committing every single thing to it and forgetting what you have now.
It's easy in being a human. It's very easy to forget to live for today. It's very easy to be grateful just to be alive. How many people out there go day to day and they are miserable because they're not even grateful that they're alive?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we can learn so much from our cancer patients because they live day to day just grateful for being here today.
Right. And you learn from them all the to kind of look at your life and what you have in a different perspective, being just grateful and happy that you don't have to make these major decisions of life and death every day. They do it every day, and we don't. So I think this is listening to other people, illnesses and suffering, and not only like trying to put yourself in their shoes. It gives you a fresh perspective on your life and your health and what's around you means, and gives you perspective into your own challenges too. I mean, it's not everything is a big deal. You just look at that and say, okay, this happened today, but look, this 45 years woman has 2 years to live. So what am I complaining about? So that's how you start gaining fresh perspective on what's important and what's not so important.
That is very true. We have to sometimes put ourselves in other people's positions to understand our own lives. We have to understand not everything is that mountain we perceive. Sometimes it's just a little anthill that we have to get over.
Yeah, yeah,
But we
absolutely.
are almost out of time. So where can our listeners and our viewers find you and all your fabulous works?
Website, ranabitar.com. That's RANABITAR.com. I'm on Facebook and Twitter.
Awesome. And thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing about your book and your poetry and everything else you're working on.
Well, thank you for having me.
And for all of our listeners and our viewers, happy reading.